For decades, employees were told that hard work, loyalty, and experience would guarantee career growth and stability. The equation is rapidly collapsing. At the same time, organizations are also facing a paradox. They need employees to continuously reinvent themselves, but many companies are still operating with outdated career structures, learning systems, and leadership models. Well, in this episode of BW People HR Voices, we'll explore whether the idea of the stable career is disappearing and what organizations and employees must do to survive in a world where adaptability may matter more than experience itself. Now, joining us for this conversation is Maria Valles, Vice President, People and Culture at Castrol India. With nearly 3 decades of experience in HR leadership across industries and over 20 years at Castrol, Maria has closely worked on talent transformation, learning strategy, leadership development, and organizational modernization across evolving business environments. Welcome, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Avi. Lovely to be here to talk to you.
Well, this conversation on learning and development and skilling is very important in today's date, especially when this year's budget was out and out about skilling and learning and development, right? If a young professional entering the workforce today asked you brutally, will my skills even matter in the next 10 years? What would you tell them?
Yeah, so great question, because I think today employees have more certifications, they have a lot more easy access, it's available, it's not so expensive. And however, they still seem to be struggling and anxious about, is it really going to matter and what's going to happen with all that I have, right? So we see that the struggle really is about the pace of change. And with the ability of individuals coming into the workforce now to time box and to prioritize. Okay. So there is absolutely a need to keep upskilling, and it's fantastic that you have it, but it has to be balanced with the career pathways that they seek, so that there's some congruence between the upskilling and the application and therefore progression. Okay. It's strange. There's learning is everywhere in today's day and age, but still there is career anxiety. And the access is, and this is really a paradox, right? Because you have it everywhere. Employees struggle with the pace of learning, the new tools and expectations. However, I don't think there's a fundamental change in the core definition of career stability, like you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just still about meaningful growth. It's about building depth more than ever before. It's about credibility of self. Am I good at what I do when people come to me as a subject matter expert? It's about progressing with purpose. But employees don't just want opportunities anymore. They want clarity and they want direction. And I call this as employability security.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, and the world is changing a lot, so organizations are changing, people don't feel as secure as before, and there are reorganizations and so many of those things happening. So this employability security is something that is very important. Today's stability is more personal, and therefore the question which a young employee or anybody coming in would ask today, rather than simply institutional. And for us in Castrol, the implication is clear. Our focus really is on building confidence, not just capability. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We transparently share individuals' career journey, not at the top, not individuals at the top of the house, but everybody who've been through various roles, what they've done to motivate themselves. And we do plan, we do plan to have a lot of one-to-one conversations between managers and employees, and this creates the right atmosphere and the right balance to help them manage this balance of confidence as well as increasing adaptability. So if
Right.
I would summarize this, Savi, what I would say today is career stability is really less about predictability.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about confidence that you can continue to stay relevant no matter how old you are or how much experience you have, and growth in the right culture. So, if you have good organizations, are the ones which build up this culture, which know that we need to build individuals' confidence and we need to build really their credibility to be employable as we go along. And that's something I will tell the person who comes in and asks me this question very upfront and forthright.
Very well put. You spoke about building confidence amongst employees more than capabilities, right? But with AI taking over everything, a lot of studies suggest that millions of jobs will be taken over by AI. But a lot of studies also say that AI will augment the employees of the future. Right now, how do you manage that transformation? How is AI changing the way that people view their own professional value?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Savi. AI is definitely changing the way we work, but it's more about changing the definition of the value at work. Okay. Technology is evolving super fast, and really nobody, neither you or me or anybody, could say with certainty what 5 years from now will look like. But what we know today and what we should focus on is that AI actually is a very, very strong productivity tool. And
Mhm.
I use it quite a lot when I want to do quick summaries, when I want to do checks, etc. And I do find that it helps me go through a lot of voluminous amount of work and get the right messages which are there. And I think that's what we need to understand and focus on, right? Uh, it's wherever there are execution heavy jobs and where there's a lot of repetitive work, that's where AI comes in, and that's where AI really helps and makes that difference. And therefore, when you're talking about upskilling, when you're focusing on things, we also know that where work is going to happen, the kind of roles we've already seen have changed a lot. And
Mhm.
that's what is going to be the difference which is in there. Areas that require judgment, storytelling, decision making, relationship building, contextual thinking, just connecting with people are just not going to go away. So the part of human leadership is going to be there. And
Mhm.
it's not only in PNC that you need human leadership. Every individual, every manager, anybody in the organization needs that. So that part's not going away, but the drudgery of certain things is what we can adapt and embrace, EI to do. And I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think that's very important. So the real differentiator is not going to be whether somebody uses AI or not. It will be how they use AI, because your AI is here to stay. It's like WhatsApp is here to stay.
Right.
UPI is here to stay. It's similar to that. It's how do you use it while in the right way, and at the same time keep the human judgment, accountability very much on the table as we kind of do things.
Right, absolutely. Very well put. Well, on a very personal note, you've spent 2 decades with Castrol and more than 3 decades in the industry. How have you personally seen learning and development initiatives evolve over time? And when you started your journey, what worked best for you? And today, what is it that you see works best for the employees and the freshers coming in the market?
Yeah. I mean, excellent question. I remember when we started, or when I started working, like you said, 2 decades back, or even before that, Castrol was 2 decades, started working there. Computers were probably just coming in. We were just talking about learning management systems. It was being used more to track training records and to kind of keep it. A classroom training was something which was your go-to option only, or you register for weekend courses with university. The
Hmm.
world, I think, has done a total 360-degree change. Today, learning is available on the go. It's on your mobile, it's on your tablet, and it's not just basic training. You can do courses, you can get certifications, you can go in there. And that's the change that good organizations have adapted. Organizations that are people focused like us have adapted, where today we have a very blended approach. There are certain programs that we do face to face still, because like I talked about earlier, the judgment and the human interaction. So there are certain things that you do there, but there's a lot that's available for individuals to self learn or do with the learner online, and self paced learning at their own time and space. And that's something which is very much baked into the organization. And all good organizations, if you look around the place and you just do a benchmark, they have this blended approach. They have a lot of virtual available, and they have a tie up with a lot of universities across the world. Today it's very available, very much feasible. And I think, post COVID, it's even opened up the possibility of to the skeptics to know that it's a thing that you can do. You can study, learn, and gain certifications and move on there. And that's what we've done. And in our organization, we have some excellent examples of people who use this kind of training and actually move their career into different paths and into different roles and to different areas because they found something that was interesting and kind of picked it up and gone in there. And that's what I would say all progressive organizations would do. They make it in, they make sure that the line manager is equipped with understanding because the manager plays a huge here. And also, you provide time and space for employees within the work week, within the work day, and we do things like growth weeks, learning hours to make sure that it's not overburdened for them to do it on their own time.
Right. Well, you spoke about the burden part. My next question was on that also. Well, a lot of employees, it's sometimes difficult for them to manage, with work. There's also L&D initiatives happening. They're being told to adapt, to learn continuously, reskill, unlearn certain things and learn things again. Does it also become difficult and does it cause burnout at of any certain level to employees? Have you seen that personally? And how do you manage that if such a situation arises?
I think excellent question, Sabi. I mean, really, I think this is one of the most important tensions that we have right now and are just going to remain as part of the future of work. Okay. We keep telling our individuals, you employees, you need to learn continuously, right? We say that all the time. But the reality, like you said, is not so simple because there is your normal stuff, there's travel, and there's generally life that one has to do. And 40% of employees today do say that, the barrier to learning, there's a Forbes study which says that the barrier to learning is that they just don't have time, even though it's available on the mobile and they want to look at it. So organizations which can unintentionally shift this burden and create this kind of burnout,
Hmm.
but we also want to have people future ready. So
Hmm.
good organizations that take a longer time view are looking to make structural changes in the way learning is, delivered at work. So
Hmm.
it's embedded in the work. You no longer, like I told you, we don't have classroom training. Learning on the job is important. Smaller modules, quick bits, learning. So that's easy to make time into it. You learn something, you do, you act, you come back again. That helps the upskilling going on. And you also have the time to build up your certifications and your skills. So organizations keep that in. They have changed the design. And if you want to help really employees upskill and not feel burnt out, you've got to change the model. You've got to equip, like I said, managers with the tools. You've got to have train people in having better performance conversations where they
Hmm.
actually and development conversations where they offer out these opportunities and bake it into the design with small things like learning hours, learning quizzes, talking about small things that they can do which they actually embed in the actual overall workflow of things, and that way they can kind of go about it. And organizations which will get this design right, they were the ones that will have people who will be really productive, confident, and would be happy to kind of work in those kind of environments.
Right, right. Absolutely. Well, in today's age and time, especially if I talk about the Gen Z, it's very difficult to retain employees in the organization, right? Sometimes employees, freshers especially, they view a large brand name, an employer brand, just like a, a name on the portfolio, right? Okay, we show this to the next employer that we've worked here. We've gotten some experience from this organization. We've learned a lot, and now we'll move on to, let's say, a higher compensation or a better salary structure in another organization. Now, how do you deal with that? How do you retain employees? What are some of the retention strategies that you're using at Castrol?
Okay. You're absolutely right. I think it again ties back to what we talked about earlier, right? Today, individuals who come in are not looking necessarily for just a linear career development or roles or jobs. I think that place and phase of the work has changed. The
Mhm.
corporate ladder has not disappeared, but it certainly changed shape. There's a lot more emphasis on gathering broader experience rather than just vertical experience. So it's not about super specialists, but it's generalists with some amount of specialization, something which is very new in here. So we look at careers in that particular way. We talk about career maps, we talk about opportunities, and it's kind of what is the wine glass approach, where you don't go here, but you kind of go around and kind of come up to where you want to look at it. So we
Mhm.
make roles and jobs and make sure that we have those opportunities that are present. we again, like I said, a lot of it is about multi-directional careers, and it's also about pulling people into projects. So how do you give this breadth? You can't always change a person's role. Getting people to do short-term projects, moving them out into agile teams, which is the methodology which works really well today. So you get a lot more exposure. You can even at a be fairly junior and be a leader in that team. So you get leadership experience kind of club to it. So agile working or formats, project working, shadowing leadership, a particular leader, doing, cross exchange of roles are some of the things that we do to help people not follow the predictable career paths, because that's not what they want, because it doesn't have help the employability credibility, but this is what helps, and that helps them to create, give them that experience that they're looking at, brings in the dimension of multi-skilling, helps them to be prepared to do those larger roles as and when they come up. We also
Hmm.
post all our jobs internally. I mean, many roles open, most of the roles are posted internally. So people have an opportunity to apply, they have an opportunity to look at what is available from a career point of view so that they can start preparing for it. And our learning management system is such that it helps you understand the skills you need for your current role, and it also throws up, and there we do use AI, throws up what are the skills you would need for another role that you are looking to go, which is in there. And we are very transparent about career paths, organization structures, etc., etc. So these are some of the things that we do, and which actually a lot of good organizations do in some shape or form, have this design to ensure that we provide that kind of
Right.
options for individuals to stay on.
I also personally feel that internal mobility, I think, is the best way to boost the confidence of any employee, to explore different departments, different roles. So I'll agree with you on that. Well, personally, Maria, as an HR leader, what are some of the qualities that you look for in a candidate that's interviewing? Technical skills is one, and their education, etc., is one. But personally, what attracts you to a candidate?
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Education, tech, the basic technical ability is, I would call it table stakes.
Mhm.
What really, makes a candidate stand out when I kind of interview or have conversations with anybody is how they come across in their mindset. Do they have an open or a fixed mindset? What is the evidence of learning agility, the speed of it, the willingness to learn, the willingness to be open to try new things? And I think a bigger one for me, the biggest of all underlining this, and there are many, but I'll just pick three, is resilience. Today,
Right.
the world is changing so fast, it's so dynamic. And if you don't have that inner resilience and ability to cope and self manage the changes, it becomes very difficult for the person to feel comfortable, and then we have other challenges to deal with. Organizations have got setups to help people build the resilience, but I think that's something which is internal, and you need to have that and to want to be able to balance that resilience comment. So these are the couple of things I would say which makes
Right.
sense.
And what is the definition for you for a successful career, let's say over the next decade?
Interesting. So I think a successful career for me, any career at anywhere, is someone who, like, I talked about the fact that things are changing, the career ladder is changing, the corporate ladder is changing. So successful career for me over the next decade, if I look at, let's say, a challenger or a management trainee coming in today, or even a professional hire, is doing multi-dimensional roles,
Mhm.
not just touching and going in terms of, just doing a couple of months, but looking at a arena of roles, building up skills in project management, let's say in a bit of sales, in a term of leadership, doing a couple of all of these so that at the end of that decade, they are rounded leaders who understand and take a strategic view and also have the right EQ to understand various people at various stages and various careers. So that's something I would absolutely look at.
Right. Now, on another note, I've spoken to, I don't know, thousands of HR leaders over the years, and this is one thing that I do hear from a lot of HR leaders, and I always pose this question to them. Learning for a new employee, for a fresh employee, learning and development is still easier as compared to changing, upskilling a leader, because sometimes you get that kind of resistance from the people in the hierarchy who have a set way of working in the organization for over the years. Have you seen that personally over the years in your experience? And how do you deal with that? If the leadership shows some kind of resistance to changing the pattern of working?
Yeah, I think you can't not have had that experience when you're dealing with senior leaders and multi generations at the workplace. And yes, it's amazing how some of them, as they say, just jump into the saddle, pick it up, and roll with it, while some of them need a little bit of help. So
Mhm.
what I like to say here is that experience will always matter. You can't take that away really, because that brings in perspectives, that brings in a longer time thinking, understanding, a way to do things. Okay, but no longer is just experience enough. Okay, and leadership requires adaptability, curiosity, as well as learning agility to that extent. And a team expects their leader, no matter how much of experience he or she has, to be adding value to them. So that means that the leader also has to be on top of things and to understand things. How would we deal, or I deal, or the organizations which are people focused deal with such individuals? One is, I think, about exposing them to
Mhm.
what is new and what's available in that industry. Okay, so it could be via leadership talks, it could be via actually bringing, exposing them to that new technology by demos, etc. But a lot of individuals at that level who actually understand things could benefit a lot from a personal coach. So, a leadership personal coach is something that helps to help them also walk through some of their concerns, inhibitions, and to help them build resilience to help. So, that's one thing I think that we've done to help leaders to also be, in there and to understand, whether it's a cup half full or half empty and what else is there on the other side of it. And good organizations do that. They also provide buddies. Some organizations do what is called reverse mentoring. So you have a challenger or somebody else coming in, you tag them to somebody who is senior and experienced in the organization. It works both ways. That
Mhm.
individual is exposed to experience, longer thinking, etc., etc. And this individual gets to know what's new, can try it out, and experiment in the same space which is in there. So it's a different concept of a mentor mentee where we could kind of do something like this and look at it.
If you had to give one message to employees who are very anxious about their future, especially when so much is happening geopolitically, so many companies are laying off people. For those anxious employees, if you had to give a message, what would it be?
Yeah, been through those situations, as we say, as the organization changes. The message that I would honestly give to these individuals is that, the world is rapidly changing, yes, but there's no point spending time assuming what's going to happen and get into that kind of a trap of a downward trap, a downward spiral, I would say. First, I would say focus on the here and now. Do
Hmm.
what you're doing and do it really well, and seek additional opportunities and skills to upskill yourself at this point in time. Because irrespective of whether your organization is there or your role changes, whatever you do is for you and you're adding personal value to yourself from a skills point of view. So do that and focus on it. And always think about plan A, plan B, and options in career. And therefore, today, this thing of, you know, looking at multi-dimensional careers and not just one thing is very, very important. The world
Hmm.
has changed. So, two things: focus on the here and now. Don't make assumptions. It'll happen when it has to happen. And look at options of building up your skills in a multi-dimensional way so you have something to fall back on.
Very, very well put. Maria, if whenever you move on from the organization, how would you want your team to remember you as a leader?
Okay. I mean, that's okay. I think the way I would remember, like my team to remember me, is as a leader who always help them go forward,
Hmm.
not held them back, help them develop their skills, so that they are ready to actually take my place or to take another larger role in the future.
Well, in your journey, is there something when you look back and you think I could have done this better? And, anything, any anecdote you'd like to share?
Uh, I mean, not so much an anecdote, but I think if I look at if I reflect back on my journey, Savi, and I look at it, and which is something advice to my younger self that I would give is, you know, when opportunities come, don't overthink it so much.
Hmm.
Trust your line manager, especially if you have a positive, working relationship with the line manager. Trust the line manager, and go for it because things will work out. And the other thing I would say is that use mentors a lot more. There are always people in the organization willing to help you. You all sometimes, at least earlier in my career, I would think, what will this person think of me if I go and ask them? It sounds so stupid. Now, of course, I just go and ask whoever I have to, but that's another thing I would say. Use the mentors and seniors in your organization, but don't wear heart on your sleeve where you go and tell everybody about everything. Be judicious, but use your judgment and use them right. So those are the two things I would tell myself.
Very nice. Well, on that note, we'll now move on to the rapid fire round, which is the much fun part of our episode. And are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. One skill that will become irrelevant faster than people expect.
Routine execution without thinking.
One human skill AI will never fully replace.
Human judgment.
Okay. What's more dangerous today? Is it complacency or burnout?
Complacency, because it just kills relevance.
One workplace myth younger employees no longer believe in.
Your career will take care of itself if you just focus and do hard work.
Would you hire for experience or adaptability?
Adaptability anytime.
Okay. One leadership trait that will become critical in the AI era.
Learning agility and resilience.
The biggest mistake professionals make about career growth today.
They chase titles instead of actually looking at what they're going to do.
One industry that will see the biggest workforce disruption in the next decade.
Repetitive knowledge services, things which do mass management.
Agreed. Well, job titles or learning agility, what matters more for future careers?
Learning agility.
You got the answer. Well, complete this sentence. The future workforce will struggle most if employees continue to
equate activity with growth instead of relevance with progress.
Well, a lot of our viewers, Maria, they are HR professionals who aspire to become the head of HR one day. Any last piece of advice for them?
I think it's important to have a good team, whether it's your direct team or people that you work with. And what do I mean by good team is that you need to build relationships with people. Everybody has something to offer and for you to learn from them. So, have a team which is good, and especially when you rise up to the level of a leader of a team of managers and others, do spend time with people. It's very easy to get busy. Spend time developing them, and you will then find that your life is so much easier because there's a lot more that you can do, and you can be a lot more creative, contemporary, and literally go out there and get things done.
Well, thank you so much for your inputs. What a wonderful and candid conversation. And I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure the viewers will also enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you.